Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Ed Feels Live. I'm your host, Rogan Smith, and your company on this gorgeous Monday afternoon. Oh, beautiful, beautiful weather. I just came back from Washington, D.C., so I have a great appreciation right now for Bahamian weather.
Oh, because it's already cold?
So my husband told me I went there for the weekend.
I think like the weather's changed so quickly in up north.
That's the thing. So he told me it's shorts weather. So I could bring my shorts. So that's what I did. And when I showed up at the airport, I stepped outside.
Your niece was knocking.
I said, no, wait, no.
Hold on.
Like 50 degrees outside.
Yeah, no, that probably hit them too.
He said it was like in the 80s, like the high 80s, and then like it just went flip mode squad and went down to the 50s, so I wasn't ready, my boy.
I think I was looking at some weather up north. I saw, like, yeah, in the daytime, it's like 80-something.
Right.
And then the nighttime is like 50-something degrees.
But this was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon and it already gone to 50 degrees. So I was born in August and I like it hot. And I told y'all before, I could put on a little air conditioning and get cool, but I do not do cold weather, period.
I love cold.
That's because you and Kendrick are December babies. That's all y'all know.
That's right.
I can't deal with that.
Sometimes I don't understand how I was born in this hot country.
Where you want to be born? Russia?
No, I need seasons. I need proper seasons. Yes, I need proper seasons where you catch a break. But
not to dry.
I can't have one season all year
wet
round.
And dry season and that's it.
You notice we don't even have much of a quote unquote winter. You remember? No, man, NASA used to get nice and cool. I remember, way back when in 2000, I think 2012 was like, because I remember it vividly. I remember being down at Junkanoo.
Oh yeah.
And it was freezing.
You used to have one of those big bubble jackets, or would you?
No, I never used to run out like that.
Not the fur.
No, I never used to run out like
run
that.
Right out now.
And the big, the
50-degree weather don't warrant. It wasn't even 50. 60-degree weather don't warrant no furry boots now.
The fur just break right out.
A full fur boot. Everybody goes there and run right out, babe.
No, but man, I remember being on those bleachers, and it was windy, and I was like, wow, I don't remember Nassau being this cold in a long time, and that was 6 years ago, and we've not had cold like that since.
Yeah.
It gets warmer and warmer every
Freeport
year.
Gets a little cooler. Freeport.
We'll send some of that down, man. I need a real
Christmas feel.
We'll
go up to Washington, because I ain't on that run. I couldn't wait to come back home. And I said I told Kendrick, I wasn't spending any money buying any jacket because it wasn't going to serve me any purpose when I came back home.
So what did you do?
So I used my husband's jacket and stuff like that and like pull over. I say, I come back home Sunday, boss.
Yeah, because that doesn't make no sense.
So, yeah. So how was the weekend?
Oh, good. We my family did the color run this weekend, which was the first time that I'd ever experienced that. And to do it with the kids.
Right?
Oh, the kids loved it.
Oh my God.
The kids loved it, but boy, my kids had me. I can't believe how fast they were.
Oh, they were running.
They had my heart pounding out of my chest. They ran so fast, and I had to keep up because you got to keep up with your children, make sure that they're safe on the path.
You could run though, Candy.
I run. I do run, yes, and I.
That sounds like I run, but I don't run that fast.
I run, but what they were doing, they were sprinting.
Next level.
But, children with all that energy. I was like, boy, I wish I could bottle this up.
So what you say, as you're running along, they have the color stations and they just
right. So it's we did the short route. It started at Green Parrot and then went to Montague and back. But you could incorporate the bridges if you wanted a little longer run. We wasn't doing that. Not with those two children.
Yeah.
But right. So at every so often there was a color station where people would just douse you with color powder, and it was just. By the time you were finished, you were dirty with, different colors. And
I like stuff like that.
It was such a good time. It was such a good experience.
Absolutely. No, I think I'm going to do that next year because everybody, when you see the pictures on Instagram, you go,
yeah, and you have fun with it. You have like little outfits. There were people out there in tutus, colorful socks, crazy outfits, and it was just really nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah. See, that was, I endorsed.
You endorsed
the color run.
Kendrick Yuckup, Ed Fields just walked through the door. I guess he'll get his headphones and everything sorted out first. But Kendrick was showing us this video with this couple in the car. Kendra, you just know how to yuck up my vexation every time I come inside the studio with I don't know if it's her husband or her boyfriend, but there's an argument between a couple because he wants his mother to sit in the front seat of the car and wants his girlfriend to sit in the back seat of the car. Now, when Kendrick put this scenario to me, the first thing I said was, well, if my husband's in the car and his mom's coming, I naturally will go to the back seat.
Just out of respect for her being older, right?
Right, and I don't want to put him in a position where he has to choose who goes where. And usually the mom will say, no, you come in the front.
Right.
And, it works out.
Yeah.
I can sit in the front, mom. But
no, you have some mummies.
That couple and that mother.
Ooh.
MUDDA.
Mother.
And so there's an argument, a profanity-laced argument going back and forth because the mother's saying, I bring this man here, and so if I sit in the front seat, what's the big deal?
What's the big deal? Right.
And the woman paying half of the bill for the car
note, exactly. But he was with that video. He was disrespectful towards his girlfriend. I didn't like that.
I put the two of them out the car, boss.
You as the girlfriend, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
But I could see that happening here.
With a different outcome.
What you mean?
Because Bahamian woman sitting in the back seat of no car, was she paying half the bill for? And
but you better believe that Bahamian man, that's my mother. You expect me to put my mother in a box seat? No, sir. Plenty of them out there.
Yeah.
I would like to see a Bahamian version of that video.
Somebody come in in a minute. Mr. Fields.
Hey.
How are you?
Oh, y'all get
was
white
malt?
White malt?
No, I bought that from downstairs.
And I'm not doing well.
Who is?
I said I'm not doing well.
I said who is?
Oh, I'm just not
feeling
healthy.
well.
Oh, you're not healthy. What you bring to eat?
I had a really bad night last night with some issues, so I have not slept. So I'm just exhausted, and then
you had to go to work, or you didn't go to work today?
I went in and out. Yeah, so just wiped out, man. I literally had about maybe, and I had just power issues at my home. So, and anyway, the general public doesn't care about that stuff. But so I feel like, I don't know. Yeah, when's the last time you had a thing where you had like maybe 1 hour sleep?
No, I've never had that.
Yeah, that's so
maybe like 4 hours, but not an hour.
Yeah, I feel just.
You only slept for an hour?
About an hour.
Ain't no way.
Yeah.
You can see, your eyes show.
Yeah, so, and then I had to, this cold is still lingering, so I had to go to the doctor and get some stuff.
You on antibiotics?
I was, and now I'm on some more.
Yeah.
So.
Sometimes they treat the wrong thing.
Yeah. So, I think the antibiotics they gave me first was for like chlamydia.
I believe it.
I'm serious.
I'm sure it is.
Joking. I looked it
they
up.
all
That's what it said.
treat a lot of wide range of stuff.
But the chest cold isn't in the range.
Did you say you
never know?
Chlamydia?
No, I didn't say I had. I said that's what the antibiotics.
Oh, it's a good thing you cleared that up. I'm sure people.
No, I said that's what they gave me. I said they gave me the wrong stuff.
I thought you said from my chlamydia.
No, I said for. I didn't say. I did not use the word my.
What you?
Okay.
Now, please state on the radio that he does not.
I did not say my. Yeah, because I wouldn't say that on the radio.
Right. That's why I'm sitting here with my eyes torn open.
You perked up a little bit,
So, anyway.
Well, sorry to hear about that, but you're here.
Yeah. So I'm just wiped out, so I'm just going to let it flow. It's like, I can't imagine if they like torture you.
Sleep deprivation. Yeah, that is torture.
Because I only had the 1 day.
Right.
So I don't know how they would feel with 4 or 5 days. Well, I wouldn't get to that. I'd be talking. So I wouldn't need to get to that point. Yeah. I'll be telling them whatever they want to know.
That is torture. Take that in the
other than that, everything else is good. What day today is Monday?
It's Monday, October 15th. Well,
yeah. So, yeah.
Until about midnight.
That's about it for me. What about yourself?
So we can finish the show right here.
Yeah, we could just pack it up.
All right. Well, that was great. The shortest show ever.
Our guest this afternoon is Jeff Lloyd. I'm sure he'll bring some energy to the proceedings. We'll talk about a whole range of all sorts of education-related things where the schools are.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
They got a lot of projects going on, so we'll hear from Jeff in about 6 o'clock. We'll be right back. I don't know what went on this weekend. What went on this weekend?
What do you mean this
food festival?
Oh, yeah, that kind of stuff. I mean, in the news type of thing, you know.
Well, you see the shootout at sea with the Dominican Post.
Yeah, I saw that. Anyone got killed?
Mind-blowing. No, nobody got killed.
Yeah.
But the Cubans and the Americans helped apprehend these fellas. 124.
These are Dominicans?
Yeah. Boy, they come to do damage. I tell Kendrick, if you bring in 124 people with you, you come in to rape and pillage the ocean.
I can't imagine that. Yeah.
They have nothing in their ocean, the Dominicans. Nothing. And now they're moving over to Bahamian waters. And you have Bahamians who are respecting the law and saying, okay, let's leave these fish here so they can grow. You know what I mean? So our supplies don't be depleted. And these fellas, they
you think they check in?
By no rules. They don't operate by any rules.
No.
Well, they're probably
Real
operating
pirates.
by the rule of we need some food. Not
Right,
that
we
we're
need to
excusing
eat.
them.
They ain't starving.
Well,
They're not
I don't know if
starving.
you've been to the big DR.
That's okay. They ain't starving.
Yeah,
They ain't doing too well.
They're not. Yeah, it's rough down there. But that doesn't give them an excuse. It's our waters, so we got it right to protect it. But yeah, we're very fortunate. Small population. You got the southern islands down there, where you have people who have, I wouldn't even say towns, but I was going to say cities, but towns or settlements with 50, 60 people and plenty fish. So we got it lucky, and then so these people over there are going like, well, they don't need that. But how far are they coming up? Where did they catch them?
I don't know precisely.
Yeah. I mean, it's all down in the southern Bahamas
They're
there,
talking
right?
in the Great Bahama Bank area.
Yeah,
So.
that's down by like Inagua and all that kind of stuff, right?
I could only imagine the amount of stuff they get.
Well, did they get the fish?
I remember.
Well, had they caught them before they start fishing?
I can't remember if it was earlier this year or last year where they had.
You
I don't know if you saw those images of what the police and defense force officers had caught.
So, yeah.
I mean, it was like freezers of. Oh my God.
I know.
It's mind blowing.
So these guys are shooting back, eh? The people, I mean, what kind of boat is that? One boat?
There's a mothership, say?
Boy. Rough. Three vessels at daybreak on Saturday with skiffs. They take the skiffs and they span out. Shoot
They
out
come
at
to
sea.
do damage, my boy.
And I was just wondering if they had gotten any contraband, or we got them before that. But I always figured, if we had, we have a poaching. Our biggest issues internationally are poaching and immigration, right? Illegal immigration. You got to pass a certain place, right? You'd think if we really buffed up down in Inagua with a defense force base, right? Because I don't think the defense force base, to be honest with you, does much good being in Nassau. I mean, no one's coming from like Exuma, But the thing is, if you had a really substantial defense force base down in Inagua, it would also be big for the economy. Because you see these military bases in the States, they're good for the economy, man. People gotta, So you think that would be the thing, and they just fan out down there at the bottom of Inagua, and before you could get past, because you have, if you seen, I got on a boat the other day. Well, I mean, of course, those boats may not have it, but they can pick those boats up from far on radar. So you'd think they'd be able to just focus down there. I don't see the sense of having everything, all of your, and I don't know if they do, but all of your equipment in Nassau.
And then having to dispatch them out to go,
Yeah,
these different places.
Let's build up Inagua, man. Get it together, and you can rotate people out so they get furlough or whatever they get in that world.
Yeah.
But so that's I think they contemplated that. The other thing I thought about, but Henry Boswell got really angry with me, is the U.S. has tons of resources, right? And one of our biggest problems is drugs being smuggled to get to the U.S.
Right.
And immigrants to get to the U.S. Why not just let the U.S. set up a big, that's extending their border, right? Set up a big base down there in tandem with the Bahamas, and patrol that to death, man.
Let them do some work there.
Yeah, put some drone or whatever they got.
The sophisticated stuff that they
Black
got.
Hawk and whatever, Black Hawk down.
Yeah.
Maybe people will, but when you're dealing with desperation, it's It's rough. You know.
Motivation.
So was you people up with that? What they don't want Americans coming in and what?
They were dealing with sovereignty and all that. But I mean, but it's. It's solutions. To me, what you're not saying.
Stay sovereign and let the people come in.
You can be sovereign. You can be another nationality.
Drugs.
That's what you can be.
Jeez.
But I think that it's. Don't you think they got tons of resources? They don't want to have to deal with it when it's already in the Bahamas and coming over into Florida. And they already don't they have a military base down there already? I think they had a base or something like that. I'm not sure. We'll ask Jeff Lloyd. He knows this stuff. But anyway, what else is going on? What's happening, Candy?
Oh, right here. Yeah. We're just talking about the weekend, did the coloring and stuff like that. But I'm good. Yeah. I'm good.
Did y'all get a chance to see Kanye West's appearance to the Oval Office?
No.
Did you watch that, Edward?
It was probably one of the most uncomfortable things I've seen in my life.
Was it?
Because of the sheer... He has issues, right?
Well, they say is he bipolar or something?
He said that they misdiagnosed him as bipolar.
He has sleep deprivation. Right?
I sent it to you.
Yeah, but I mean, I saw it when the boy was talking. So, is there anything such as tripolar? That's what he said.
Yeah, they said that was awful.
Yeah. No, it was literally. First of all, I mean, listen, I'm no prude, but the guy in the office talking about MF and all that, man. That was disrespectful. To the office. I mean, I'm not
come on.
A prude, but you can't be.
Yeah.
Right.
That was unnecessary. And referring to the president as a
MF. Yeah.
Oh wow.
In a hip hop way.
Yeah.
But I mean, he just seemed like he was ranting like he was on some kind of drug or something, man.
He's on the fame drug. And when you have a room full of journalists and photojournalists, and they're clinging to every word that you say, and they're photographing every movement.
Yeah.
You start to play for the audience.
I know you're going to come down on me for this, but I don't see him as any kind of genius. I see he's a good entertainer. He screwed up way back when he did that thing with the Taylor Swift thing. I mean, who does that? Mm-hmm. That's just, I mean, I don't know who does that.
Mm-hmm. Interrupts the...
No, it's that person's thing. Okay, and it would be one thing if the person who, like, if it was Beyonce, like, I mean, that's because she would have been the one who was slighted. That would have been a whole other set of stuff. But he's getting up there to talk about. Come on, man. Mm-hmm. You think he would like it if someone did that to him?
Mm-mm.
He needs help.
People were talking about it. I saw Don Lemon from CNN, who I don't really care for, calling it like a minstrel show. So he felt like he was watching a minstrel show.
Gee. Actually, I felt a little bit of that.
Why is that? Me and my husband had a big argument. Yeah, I did. All 25 minutes of it.
Minstrel show and all that gets kind of maybe, but here's what I thought.
I think that's extreme.
Here's a situation where, there's a very divided country, a lot based on race. And this guy is reinforcing almost every stereotype you would want to enforce. That's how I felt.
Who, Kanye?
Kanye.
What's the stereotypes that he's reinforced?
Well, just the cussing and the whole behavior, the disrespectful. Listen, there is, you know how to, for instance, move away from that stuff. You know how to speak the dialect, right? But when you go to a certain environment, or like a job interview, or you were going to meet the governor general or whatever, you comport yourself in a certain way. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't go up there like, hey. You'd know how to conduct yourself in certain environments. And he obviously was like, well, I'm bigger and all that. So.
That's what they did, minstrel?
Well, that's, it was a demonstration of the stereotype that I just saw was inappropriate. But
I thought it was inappropriate, his profanity-laced statements. I thought it was that. I don't know that it arose to calling it minstrel. I think people are just trying to throw the book now at Kanye West.
Well, what they mean by minstrel is when you play to those who would hold those stereotypes.
I totally understand what that means, but I still don't see him doing that.
Well, he did.
I just saw him being disrespectful.
Yeah, I just think he was, just the whole hat. I mean, I know it's the MAGA hat or whatever you call it, But just anyway,
nothing probably
the
wrong
best.
with him. That's just
Say again?
Kanye. I said nothing is probably wrong with him. Like we're so quick to say, okay, well, is he mentally ill, or
I don't think anything.
I don't think anything is wrong with Kanye. Kanye is Kanye.
Right, and he's always been that way.
He's always been that way.
He said he has issues.
When he was having some challenges, and again, it was now he understands due to sleep deprivation. Just like how you walked in here and you talked about operating on 1 hour sleep and you're not feeling well and all that stuff.
Well, he never sleeps.
So
you'll say, he
sleep
probably
deprivation
doesn't.
shows that he doesn't sleep as often as he should. And it has an impact on that.
Yeah.
But my
don't
thing
think
is,
we all know, and this is why I don't like the topics of dealing with, celebrity, that the reality is when you get completely famous like that, you're always in a different realm.
You realize Trump is a celebrity too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
you talk about Trump a lot.
He has some problems. Don't worry about that. He has plenty problems.
my thing is, me and my husband had a big old, we had a big old argument about this, right? He's African American, I'm Bahamian, right? Mm-hmm. But after watching this, he said he's not supporting Kanye West. He feels like he is an Uncle Tom. He feels, he was just really disgusted by his behavior, right? And it got us talking because I said, yes, Kanye West is a lot of things. We've always known Kanye West to be a lot of things. This is not like he was acting like John Legend and all of a sudden he just transformed into this, right? But I feel like the bigger issue here is the fact that people just don't like the fact that this black man has an affinity for Donald Trump.
Right.
I think that's the big issue. And so they're doing everything to discredit him because they don't like his political choices. That's what I think it boils down to. I find America, especially for the past, 5 years, they operate with the sheep mentality where...
Right, because you're black, you're
supposed to be a Democrat.
You're supposed to support these set of people.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And if you lean over to this side, this is an issue for us. You need to come back over here.
Okay, so here's what I think about that particular argument.
Can you give me that water, please, Candy?
Yeah. If someone, no matter what their ethnic background is, goes into and says, I'm supportive of Donald Trump, it is not the fact that their ethnic group determines how at least I'm only going to get into the feel about that person. It's how they behave. Do you understand what I'm saying? So whether you're black, whether you're Asian, whether you're white, whether whatever, if you feel like you want to support Donald Trump, fine. And you can go in there and you can represent your views and how you feel it's the case, okay? Has nothing to do with Donald Trump. What I feel is how he represented himself is the concern that this is me. It has nothing to do with the other 7 billion people in the world. This is how I feel about how he represented himself.
Not the fact that he is supporting Trump.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
I think for a lot of them that is the problem is that he's supporting Trump.
That might
not be your issue, but that is a great
That's not
point. There are people who are mad at the very point that he is supporting Trump.
And then the thing is, we know how Trump feels about, and at least let me rephrase because I can just go into the I now. I believe I know how Trump feels about minorities and women and certain groups, okay? And Kanye, my view is that he just fuel that. Mm-hmm. He just fueled that. That's why it was so interesting about how Saturday Night Live portrayed it. Because essentially it's like, I can use this. I can use this now. I can go out there and I can use this. That the kind of thing. So anyway.
I don't know.
It's one of those things. You don't like it or you don't.
Know.
If you like it, good. If you don't like it, good too. All right. So.
We were done with that conversation. When you say all right, that means it's over. It's over.
Say what you're gonna say.
Anyway, Candy, let me talk to you because he's done with the conversation. But for me, again, to the point what I was making earlier, I feel like the overarching theme is the fact that there are a lot of African Americans who just don't like the fact that this. You see, it's wonderful for them to be able to say, black people don't like Trump. Black people don't support Trump. Wait, but here comes Kanye West, and he does have a certain affinity towards him, and that's a problem. I honestly believe that people should have the latitude to support whomever they want, I don't care if they say Trump is a racist or Trump has shown that he's a racist in the past. That's still Kanye West's choice whether he wants to support him. Because guess what? There are Democrats, my dear, who are racist as well. Mm-hmm. They might keep that on the down low and they ain't coming out and saying all this stuff. But you don't know how they feel behind closed doors. You don't know what they've said behind closed doors. Oh, I thought you were done.
Yeah. Everyone has. It's all about who gets the thing. Everyone has prejudices. If you're in the public service and you're quote unquote representing the people, whether it's underlying or you're keeping it undercover or not, is to me irrelevant. It's how you behave. It's how you represent, because you're supposed to be representing all the people. Okay? It's like you might support one particular baseball team, but you try not to give a preference, right? So the reality is, Trump and others have demonstrated publicly how they feel about a certain group of people. That's what I think people represent. Okay, so if you hear, what's his name, Bill Clinton, he may be racist, but people don't feel that he is. And that's what's important in that role. Now, if you're a private citizen, it's another story. I'm ending it now because we're going to commercial. Yes. He's crazy. Good.
He's not. No, he's not.
Okay.
No, he's
See,
not.
We don't have to go that step further.
Well, you don't have to, but you're allowed to.
And I'm allowed to say he's not.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
but don't say you shouldn't. Of course you can.
I think
if people feel.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I think you have the right to say whatever you want to, but I would say I'd hope. You know how you always appeal for civility?
Yeah.
I would appeal.
Exactly.
Okay. I would appeal for people to think for themselves and not let people tell them things. To hear the information that's presented in front of them and then make their own, come to their own conclusions after that. And I would hope that people would be very balanced in their assessment. That's all I can hope for.
I can say this. I watched the program. Okay. I didn't need a talk show person or something to form my. I watched it. Your husband, he watched it. Someone didn't tell him how to think, I would hope. He came to his conclusions based on what he saw. So did I. So did you. And in a civil way, you can describe that person in any way, shape, or form. And if that person doesn't want to be described pro or con, either way, then basically don't do it.
My husband didn't watch the video. He watched the
I'm so surprised that Ed is saying this now, like especially when we talk about on Facebook and people coming and saying unnecessary. Hold on, wait, Ed, let me finish. And people going that step further and saying unnecessary things. It's okay to not like somebody. It's okay to like or dislike what they do, but then don't go the step further and then go personal and start name calling and lumping them into you're mentally ill and you're crazy and you're that. That is what that's what I'm talking about.
The point I'm saying to you is this, okay? I'm talking about maligning people, okay, who are stating a point of view in a certain type of way. You're going on, you're saying, so if you go on there and you start cursing in front of the president, okay, you have now then crossed a line. So then now people get to categorize that. It isn't like he went on there with and I'm not saying he should or shouldn't, but he didn't go on there with what do you say, a cookie cutter or sheep type mentality statement. And so as a result, people react certain ways. Mm-hmm. If he had gone on there with, well, I think we should do it this way, sir, and then people start, that's a whole other story. But if he starts to curse and carry on and whatever the deal is, then people are going to react simply.
To the same president who calls people stupid.
Well, people react to him. They react to him.
But I've seen interviews where they ask Kanye questions about why he supports Donald Trump, and he's answered in a very calm and civil way. And it doesn't matter for this man, for them, it doesn't matter how he responds. It doesn't. All that matters is this black man is supporting this white president who happens to be racist, and we won't have it.
We're not going to support you.
And we're not going to support you because of it.
And I'm sorry because we have another guest, so I will have to say this. Let me tell you what you may not have remembered that Kanye West said, and I don't remember the exact quote. Something about slavery. Okay? So boom, slavery, you're off the chart now.
It was a choice.
It was a choice.
Yeah, it's a choice. So you're off the chart now for me. So that's fine. Okay? If it was a white person. Excuse me, if it was a white person who said that, hallelujah on that. Now, we may continue on that. So, Mr. West saying slavery is a choice.
But I understood where he was coming from.
I don't understand where he's coming from.
No,
I do.
I think nobody could get past that first statement. Unfortunately.
he made the statement.
No, I know, but
how many people will get past that? No.
No, because people don't listen. People react emotionally immediately.
Candy.
Yeah.
If anyone, there's certain kind of what do you call sacred cows, okay, in life, okay, and you're in the public eye. One is in the public eye. When you say something, sometimes you wish you could pull them back, and sometimes you just can't. Mm-hmm. When you go out and say, whether you're black or white, that slavery was a choice, that I don't know the context of how that is okay. Okay, so
yeah,
I'm not. I don't consider
problem. We don't listen. We don't like to listen to people that have these radical. Yes, he may have a radical view. No, I'm saying he may have a radical view, but our problem is we anything different from our own thinking, we react emotionally to it. We shut down and we don't even want to talk about it.
Unfortunately, we allowed Mr. West to take up our time, so now we have to depart from this, and we're going to have to bring Mr. Lloyd in.
That's okay. I got my word in. I got my words in.
Yeah, and we'll do the other subject when you come back. So once again, thank you, Candy. Yes. We appreciate it. Mr. West took up our time. He's so hot. He's so non-cookie cutter that he took up our time.
I see an eye to eye with you on this.
And remember, Ken, it's a choice. We'll be right back. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ed Fields here along with Rogan Smith, and number one fan of...
You always have to run out.
You don't even know where you're going.
Yeah, number one fan of what?
Yeah.
Of what?
Candy.
No, you was going to say Kanye West. You only switch it up now because
I was going to say
you only
Candy.
switch it up.
I am
her number one fan.
Yeah, there you go. So we have with us as our guest this afternoon, Mr. Jeff Lloyd, who is, of course, the Minister of Education. Some days people are just contentious, so we leave it at that.
That's you.
Yeah, every day.
Every day you're contentious.
Every day. And fortunately, I'm the only one. That's what's good. So, as we are here today with Mr. Jeff Lloyd, and we talk about contentiousness, what's happening in the world of education? I've seen a lot of signings, a lot of partnerships. But first and foremost, because we have to do this, this is the what do they call it? The norm, the thing that we have to do every year. How are we with the schools? Did we complete the school openings? Did we get all the buildings done? That type of thing, the usual stuff.
Schools are operating fine. We have not yet completed every single school. For instance, because they didn't have the fans, the kind of fans that were required for CV Bethel. Fans, ceiling fans, wall fans. Didn't have them. Not only didn't have them, but didn't have them in sufficient quantities. Over 400. We had to wait for that shipment, but they are going to be completed by tomorrow evening, all fans.
But things, when I was in school, I don't think we had fans.
Well,
you had fans? You had fans, Rogan Smith?
Yes.
I don't know. You had fans? I've been to I was in elite school, like. QC had no fan.
QC
had no fan. We had them aluminum window. You open them up.
Oh.
You had fan?
No, we didn't.
No.
Primary school, I don't think I had a fan.
Yeah.
He's open them.
Well, now you have fan. Next more than AC.
Climate change. Some schools have AC.
Yeah, climate change.
Climate change. Yeah. And as you know, A.F. Adderley and Eva Hilton, those finishing touches are still going on. But it has nothing to do with the operation of the schools.
Those are add-ons?
Eva Hilton is a major upgrade. C.H. Reeves, major upgrades. That is completed. A.F. Adderley, significant upgrade. That is just about completed. But again, like I say, these things have really nothing to do with the operation of schools. Schools are fine. Everything is rolling along. As usual, we have challenges with sufficient teachers, particularly in the far-flung communities of our country. And that's for any number of reasons. We have always had shortages with science and mathematics, specialist teachers, biology, and so on. Hopefully, as time goes on, when we get our system completely digitized, that is going to be remedied, because then you can permit distance education such that a teacher could be at a particular location, say a C.R. Walker, CV Bethel, and through technology tie in, different communities at the same time, so those students wouldn't have any deprivation as a result of the shortage of a physical body in the classroom.
In the scheme of your realm, does the University of Bahamas fall under the Ministry of Education, or is that an independent entity?
It's an independent entity, but I, Jeffrey Lloyd, Minister of Education, or any other minister, has responsibility, ministerial responsibility. You're answerable to the cabinet, answerable to the parliament for the University of the Bahamas. Yeah.
The reason I ask that is because I'm hearing mixed things. I want to get the kind of clear thing. I understand that in 2019, those who make a certain grade, etc., would have free education at the College of the Bahamas.
Free tuition.
Free tuition. Mm-hmm. And out island students, family island students, would get a stipend.
That's correct.
Now, what is it? This is a time when, we've always talked about how things have been dumbed down. This is an attempt, I would hope, to smarten up, i.e., you have to reach a certain standard to get that kind of support, correct?
You have to be admitted to the university.
Okay, but there's no grade point average thing, nothing like that?
Yeah, you have to meet the standard. The university standard is 5 BGCSE with a C or above, and C above in English and mathematics. So you have to meet the admission standards. Right. Same thing in any university.
So you're saying anyone who gets admitted will get free tuition?
Free tuition, that is correct.
Mm-hmm. That's a big...
Up to the capacity of the university. Okay, so if the university's capacity is only, for instance, 5,000 students, right, then only 5,000 students can qualify for that particular benefit. Okay, as you know, this year the same offer was made, an opportunity was extended to students who qualified for BTVI, free tuition. Mm-hmm. Okay, now we said free tuition. Mm-hmm. It's very clear to understand free tuition doesn't also mean free fees. Doesn't also mean free books.
Yeah.
Free tuition. No, just what a fee is like.
Lab fees and
library
fees.
Yeah, lab fees and admission. Application fee.
Room and board.
If there's room and board fees, and so on and so forth. Free tuition. And it's important for us to continue to emphasize that free tuition.
Yeah, you don't want
to As you and I know, when we go to school or attend a private school, the graduation fee is one fee, the admission application fee is one fee, tuition fee is another fee if you want to play particular sports or participate in a particular activity.
But the bulk of the fee is a tuition.
Oh, yeah. The larger.
Now, how's that funded, Jeff Floyd? That just seems like a big
by you
ticket
and I,
item.
The taxpayers. The taxpayers.
I mean, is that all falling in this in the new budgetary modes with the VAT, et cetera, et cetera?
That's right. For instance, this year, $2.6 million was allocated for free tuition at BTVI, 1.3 per semester. 2.6, 1.3 per semester. The commitment is that a certain percentage, approximately 25% of that funding goes towards those students who have no qualifications whatsoever, no BJCs, no BGCs, and so on. In other words, those who are underserved are unqualified. They are placed in what is known as a job readiness program. That's approximately a year in which their literacy and computational skills are upgraded so that they can then be properly enrolled in a particular discipline, electrical installation, automotive mechanics, and so on. Because you have that constituency of individuals out there. Then another very important cohort of persons would be those between the years 18 and 35. Again, because statistically that's the larger segment of our population that is unemployed. Right, 18 to 35, somewhere near 30%, according to the last statistics. Not to deprive students, potential candidates who may, be looking for a second career or to upgrade their respective skills. A certain percentage is targeted to those as well.
But I want to go back to this tuition thing. I'm just throwing this out. In the pursuit of excellence, if you have everyone. You talk about scholarship. Let's use that phrase. You talk about scholarship because that's essentially what you're getting is a scholarship. Shouldn't the person who is excelling be getting this? Should they be getting the same type of reward or support that the person who is essentially just scraped by? Because it seems to me everyone's been lumped into one group, right? And there's not this pursuit of excellence because now I could just basically get the minimum. And get free tuition. Let's focus on tuition. Get free tuition. Shouldn't there be something that incentivizes people to do better than just the bottom?
There is. In our scholarship, or what we call tuition assistance program, you have the All Merit, All Bahamas Merit. You have those who qualify for a national merit program.
Mm-hmm.
You have those who qualify for a merit program. Let me give you an example. So the all merit receives $35,000, of which will complete scholarship.
That's one person?
One person.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have another 10 or so that receives the national merit. They receive $25,000. You have another group that receives $20,000. You have another group that receives $15,000.
Mm-hmm.
So there is an incentive to do extremely well.
Mm-hmm.
There is an incentive to really work very hard. Now don't also forget, mind you, that's just our, in the Bahamas terms, that's our Bahamian tuition assistance.
Mm-hmm.
You have universities who are looking for you too.
Right.
And they are happy to award you some assistance in terms of your academic or your scholastic or your athletic performance. And you have many students, many Bahamian students, who also qualify through those institutions. So when you put together the assistance provided from the Bahamas government, as well as those that they receive from, say, a university abroad, Canada and elsewhere, you're talking about virtually a full scholarship. And I mean, just about all of your expenses paid.
No, I know you were focused on the students at the highest, the upper echelon, but isn't it an incentive too, though, to offer free tuition for students who may not be doing so well in high school, but they say, you know what, now I have an opportunity to go to college and have my tuition fee paid, so let me make sure at least I'm getting at least the 5 BGCSEs. Isn't that an incentive as well?
No, I don't have a problem. As far as I'm concerned, I would like to see where everyone gets support.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? What I'm talking about is it would be very easy for someone who knows that if I get 5 BGCSEs and I get a C or above, to conduct themselves in a way that basically they get that.
But everybody won't, though.
No, not everyone won't. You'll always have excellers, but I'm just saying that you want to create that. So, for instance, in the lottery in the University of Georgia, you can go to the University of Georgia system completely free if you have a B or above. Now, it doesn't mean that there aren't grants and things for people who don't get a B and above, but first of all, I would assume that their entry standard is also, it may be all, but their entry standard is, because you want everyone to do the best they can, right? You don't want, you wrote a column the other day, which I think has been getting a lot of attraction, right? Mediocrity.
Mm-hmm.
What we do not want to reward, what we do not want to champion is mediocrity. There are students who will excel, who have gotten C grade, Jeff Lloyd, who would have gotten C averages, and they go into college and they excel and they bloom. But you also want to champion, people moving to the top, getting to be the best they could be. And by the way, those people are being competed for by other schools, as you said, outside the country. Will we get to a point, Jeff Lloyd, where the University of the Bahamas is on such a, there's 2 levels. There's 3 levels. There's facilities, there's scholarship, and there's sports, right? Will we get to a point where we can compete for the best who's competing with another best school in the U.S., and they want to stay here because, we're able to offer them the full package? You think we'll get to that point?
Well, we are there in some respects right now. For instance, in some science disciplines, biology is an example, chemistry is another. We are doing very well in business and teaching. We are doing very well. And we are, nursing is a program that is attracting not only Bahamians, but persons from outside of the country. The culinary arts is a program that is attracting not only Bahamians, but persons outside of the country. As a matter of fact, we have long been known for excellence in the culinary field. So we are there now. Not only that, we are receiving endorsements from universities around the world. We have articulation agreements with universities in different parts of the United States and Canada where, for instance, our students who are at the University of the Bahamas is able to spend a particular semester or even a year on a particular campus outside of the country and still retain their status at the University of the Bahamas and enjoy the benefit of that wide exposure, those courses being equivalent to the university's courses, our courses here in the Bahamas being equivalent to that particular university. So there's already an endorsement of the significance and the value and the attractiveness of certain disciplines within the University of Bahamas. Now, yes, we have some ways to go. We are a small society. The university has a budget of near mid $35 or so million on an annual basis. 5,000
high schools in the States that have budgets better than because of the size. Yeah,
of course.
But let me ask you one more last question on this. I don't know what Rogan feels about this. On the subject of those in education. You know, we talked, I think, last time you were here, and we've talked with others about the role of teachers and the value that we place with respect to teachers. Wouldn't that be a category of people who you want to see the creme de la creme go into, and that the incentive for them to go into that is even greater than say people who are doing, and I don't want to pick a subject because I don't want to diminish any subject, but those are the people
who are interested in professions such as law or medicine or accounting or engineering and so on. Listen, there's no question that you want to attract the best and the brightest, but what would it take for you to do so? One, that particular profession has to be one of an esteem that is recognized and adored by the
that's
community.
Based on value, right?
Yeah. So we perceive lawyers, doctors, engineers, accountants, as I said, were white-collar professions to be those that we should seek to emulate. We encourage our children to acquit themselves in those respective disciplines, right? And why do we feel that way? One, of course, is the esteem, but of course it's money.
Moolah.
All right? One believes that if it becomes a doctor, you can have, a very nice and comfortable life, and that one is rather prosperous. In the case of teachers, only have to take a look and see. The starting salary for a teacher with a bachelor's degree, a teaching certificate coming out of school is $25,200 a year. Starting salary for a lawyer coming out of school with a law degree having been called to the bar, this could potentially be significantly higher. The same thing with accounting, same thing with law, medicine, and so forth. And the teaching profession, unfortunately, today is not held in the esteem. It's not have the reverence that it may have had when I became a teacher back in 1974, or certainly my mother became a teacher when she was a young woman in Long Island. So,
is there potential to change that paradigm?
Of course. I mean, the way that Singapore and Finland change it is you pay them more money.
The return on the investment is what you're saying.
You pay them more money. I mean, persons coming out of universities in Finland today, the most attractive profession, the one that attracts the best and the brightest of the Finnish students, is teaching. Why? Because the starting salary is higher than any other discipline, any other profession in Finland. Any other. Now, if you can imagine that your starting salary in the Bahamas for a teacher was comparable to a lawyer, doctor, an engineer, an accountant, a pilot, come on.
Well,
it's no-brainer.
In those societies, and this is a word that Bahamians don't like to hear, in those societies, they pay a huge amount of taxes.
Of course.
And they do so because they know, they're going to be able to go to tertiary education free.
Yes.
Or any sort of, even past tertiary education. Is there such a thing? Yeah. Well, postgraduate.
Yes.
They are going to get the best teachers teaching them.
Absolutely.
They're going to have parks. They're going to have this, except. Do you think we can cajole the Bahamian psyche to realize that, look, if you want these things, you have to pay for it, and it means that instead of a Mercedes, you drive a Kia?
Well, listen, Sir Lyndon, probably one of the last public performances by way of media, said on my show when I was at another radio station that Bahamians can have anything they want as long as they're willing to pay for it. Then the Tribune wrote a brilliant editorial, I think maybe a week and a half ago, essentially echoing the same thing. Whatever it is you want, as long as you're prepared to pay for it, you can have it. Of course, we have been, conditioned to believe that we can have whatever we want, but we don't have to come out of our pockets and pay for it. And in a sense, it might be that we, can't be blamed because, we pay our taxes, and yet there are some roads that are not in the best condition, and yet we can't essentially keep our light on for any considerable length of time without interruption. And yet we find some of the public amenities in our society to be in a state that leaves a lot to be desired. So in a sense, you can't, at the same time blame the people. But yes, there is.
There's going to be a marginal propensity, right? So what is the percentage, the average percentage? And I don't know if you this is your purview, but what is the percentage that the average Bahamian pays, middle class Bahamian, of their income in taxes?
Well,
is it
a study was done, and I think it was shared with the Bahamian people that our neighbors pay somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 to 35% of their income in taxes overall. Oh, wow. And ours is 17. Okay, with the VAT, it moves up to 19.
But then you see, so there's a
so
thing.
Compared to Barbados, right, compared to Trinidad, compared to Jamaica, where you have income tax, where you have what is their version of national insurance tax, where you have VAT, right? When you add those three together, the percentage of monies that go in taxes out of an individual's paycheck, is much higher in those respective countries than it is in the Bahamas, right? So now saying that and showing that to the Bahamian people is of little comfort unless at the same time there is felt, believed, seen, tasted a corresponding value in their minds for that money that is coming out of their pockets.
But the math of it works that there's a level that is just going to get basic stuff. So if you only, I don't know the number, I don't know the magic number, but let's just say it's 17%. Well, combined with all the expenses we have, a lot of waste, paving the road, doing all of these things may not be possible with 17%. When you get to 25%, then maybe it becomes possible and your outcry is less. But we are seemingly not really. I think we would like to go down to about 4 or 5%. I think we want to go back. I don't think we're interested in going up. I think we want to go down, man, because, the TV side's getting bigger. We want to go from that 55 to that 80. And
I think that there is a natural antagonism between the desire to pay taxes, want to pay taxes, and the actual need to pay taxes. I think there's a natural antagonism. You see this in countries, European countries. They absolutely do not want to give up the kind of welfare benefits that they enjoy. They don't, but at the same time, they complain bitterly about having to pay 45, 50, 55% of their income in taxes. All right, so it's a kind of, you can't have your cake, as they say, and have it all going at the same time.
Taxes. The Bahamas is made up of, is a result of all those people wanting to avoid taxes. Yeah, that's our financial industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we got a break. We're okay. Yeah. So we're going to take a break. Okay, let's take a break. We'll be back with the Minister of Education, as he phrases it, Jeff Lloyd. We'll be right back. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ed Fields here along with Jeff Lloyd, Minister of Education. Jeff, when you came on this show post-2017 election, I cannot describe to you the anguish. Let me use that word again. I used it in connection with something else while we were off the air. I cannot describe the level of, I want to put words together like anguish, despair, grave concern, and I'm sure you still have grave concern. I know that Rogan must recall it. I was telling him when he came on right after the election, right? The despair, anguish, and all that he exhibited. Remember you talked about that R.M. Bailey school?
Yeah.
About how this is a school that should be just razed to the ground. That was the kind of terminology. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
You seem a little calmer now. So there is now hope in place of despair.
Well, there's always hope. I mean, you describe it as despair. I don't remember coming off in a state of anguish or distress, but I think I pretty much gave you
a summing up.
I hope a frank and candid assessment of that which I confronted. And I mean, hey, listen, I think this is what the Bahamian people deserve, they demand, and they don't want any sugarcoating. And for the most part, people have grown up, as it were, with me, been in the public eye pretty much all my life, been on the radio and, so on and so forth. And you pretty much call it the way it is. A lot of work to do, Ed. I mean, we are a privileged country. We have done well for ourselves. A lot more we can do, and a lot more we should do. And in fact, we must do.
And I think that's where the anguish comes from, that people see the potential that is not realized.
And you see the anger, and you see the distress, you see the discomfort, you see the anxiety in the hearts, minds across the faces of the Bahamian. Let me give you two very, very small examples. I mean, just itsy-bitsy examples. Itsy-bitsy, all right? This is what I'm saying. And this is an example because it's iconic in its representation where, in my humble and respectful submission, we are in the country. Saturday, I was asked by the Honorable Darren Henfield to serve in his capacity as the minister opening the cultural food fest down at Botanical Gardens. The opening ceremony featured some rangers, young people, beautiful young people. There were 20 flags representing the 20 nations that were represented on the grounds, all right? But there were only 14 rangers.
And there's how much country?
20.
So one had to carry two?
So, no, these are flag poles on which there are flags. So you would march in. Each ranger would affix themselves in this process to a particular flag pole. But there are only 14. 14.
Six flags missing.
So, no, 6 flags are not missing. 6 flags are
They're
not
attended.
attended. 6 flags are not attended.
Tell me how that worked out.
Well, eventually, they adjusted the rangers after they would have completed the first country,
Circle around.
and they just moved down until they got
Resourceful.
They circle around. That's how we go.
But why is that?
It didn't have to be that way.
But why is that
Why?
necessary? I mean, this is only the 23rd rendition of the cultural festival. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then, the gentleman is giving them commands, halt, right turn, and all that kind of stuff. Some turn left, some didn't move, some turned. Okay. This is before a great number of our diplomats. This is before hundreds of Bahamian patrons who are standing there. This is before the Right Honorable Janet Boswick, who was the original idea. My Lord, my God. I mean, man. Come on, man.
20,
so, couple of practice sessions, couple of practice sessions, making sure we have the right number, and we would
25 people. So
All right, now. So on Saturday evening, after I attended that function, when I usually go to my church, St. Francis Xavier, we had a small little incident, scary moment there, where a young man who served on the altar fell out, face down on the altar. Brigham, all right? So we get him off the altar and get him to where he can lay down. 2 doctors in the congregation, they came to seek his assistance. One such doctor, who was one of my instructors in law school, decided, but I think we better call the ambulance, and we did. The ambulance comes, wailing their tune. I mean, and they... the ambulance comes wailing their tune, because naturally it's an emergency. The young man is still unconscious. They're trying to make sure that his breathing is on. So they come and open the door of the ambulance, open the back door, and they saunter from the ambulance.
Saunter?
Yes, saunter.
So you mean like a stroll?
Stroll up to the church.
No emergency?
Now, I would think, as an emergency, you make this... You make this a case of emergency because you put on your siren, so you come flying from wherever you are. And here you come to the scene of the incident, and you take your slow
time.
Precious moments. You don't know what could be happening.
I mean...
it is what it is.
Listen, I told
listen. I am not blaming anybody.
No, don't. You see...
And I'm not... You're talking about anguish and distress, but I'm giving you just 2... And these are incidences and expressions and that you see on the so I mean,
but see, this is I explained to him something off the air, which I'm not going to get into, but the ludicrousness, is that a word, Ms.
No.
The ludicrousness. What is it? The insanity, the absurdness of it. Okay, next door. Okay, and it makes me feel, Mr. Lloyd, that there's got to be some kind of seismic shift, right? Because if you and I if you come to my hotel and you pay, what do you call it, the room rate, and I say to you, hold on for a moment, I can try to get you in the room between now and tomorrow. Okay? It would be It's absurd. So if I'm paying a fee to a government service in the amount of thousands of dollars,
right?
Why is it that when I continue to try to get that service rendered to me within, say, 2-3 weeks, and it stretches out into months, why am I made to feel as if I'm doing something wrong? How do we explain this? I don't know what to do any longer.
Yes, but this is why maybe we've been given the assignment. Yeah, this is why. And again, it's no.
Yeah.
But I invite our people to take a look at themselves.
Yeah.
Let us look at ourselves.
Self-examine.
This is why someone said once, "You be the change that you want in the world."
Maybe they don't want
of course, we have responsibility as the politicians, as the political leaders, the civic leaders, the religious leaders, and so on and so forth. But you who have been given an assignment at a cultural festival, you who have been given an assignment as an attendant, as a hospital attendant, you who is responsible at Starbucks to serve your patrons, you who is responsible for, keeping the roadside clean and so forth. Each of us has an obligation, for God's sakes,
what's
man.
the recourse when that person isn't fulfilling their obligation? And that's the issue.
Well, the issue, of course, is leadership. I mean, the issue is leadership. Leadership has two fundamental obligations and functions. One is to empower. That is training. So I don't blame those young kids. They're 12, 14 years of age. I don't blame them. But I look at their manager, their supervisor, their coach, their leader. How is it that you haven't prepared them? They're embarrassed. They feel awkward having not performed this to the best of their ability, and I'm sure that their ability is very good. All right? What about the person who is, attending on the ambulance? I mean, do you understand that this is an emergency?
Right.
And a member of the medical community called, a doctor
And if they were sitting
from the church called and says, listen, we have an emergency. We need the ambulance. If we didn't think it was an emergency, the doctor could have taken care of it right there. Or if they believe that it was something that is less of an emergency, could put him in a car and take him to the hospital. But no, we need an ambulance for that particular technical health-related abilities that the ambulance would provide. They just come sauntering.
Just out of curiosity, Jack, this just to satisfy my curiosity. Did anybody say anything to this medical provider when they came?
No. Not that I know of.
See, that's the other thing. We also live in this
we accept
fear
it.
thing. See, because you know why? Let me tell you why. You talk about self-examination, and we've gone a little bit of education, but Mr. Lloyd is always welcome back in. We'll talk about I know he misses radio, so he's always welcome to come back in, use it. But again, you have to have two elements of change. A, accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So if the person ain't nothing to happen to them, then not a problem. Secondly, if change means they lose out.
Mm-hmm.
See, they are comfortable with what is the status quo.
Yeah.
That's okay for them. So therefore, what's the big deal?
Right.
I remember one time, Keith Wisdom and I we were doing a show Sunday night, and we had to drive back, and we went back by Paradise Island, and they were digging up a trench in the newly paved road. They paved the road that day, and let's say they paved a tree. By 5, they was digging it up. Mm-hmm. So Keith or I made the statement to the workman. So listen, buddy, why y'all just digging up the road? Like, y'all can... Well, you've been putting it up for 4 days, yes. So all Keith and I can do, because it's different languages now. Mm-hmm. Okay? We don't know what's going on.
But you see, all of us must participate in this seismic shifting exercise. I'll give you an example. When I first came to the Ministry of Education, I was confronted by the fact that there were a number of persons, dozens and dozens of them, who never came to work. Never came to work. Never came to work.
I want one of them. Listen, you got to name one up.
No, listen to me. Listen to me. There were persons who, if they came to work, left work after showing up for a few.
Just sign in.
They sign in basically and go to another assignment or leave work and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. So we took the decision that if you didn't come to work, obviously you didn't want to work, you didn't think it was necessary, that you know, after fair warning, you would be terminated. I can remember being excoriated. I mean, I can remember being raked over the coals by members opposite, saying how heartless, how absolutely heartless I am to take bread out of people's mouths.
But we know the bread story, but they ain't taking no bread out of my mouth.
Well, listen. See, what I'm saying now is, and I said, I think in the media, I said publicly, I says, you know, it is so unfortunate that persons who seek to, you know, one day govern this country wish to seek to serve our people with a basket of foolishness. Why do you invite our people to believe that there is somewhere a free lunch?
You mean like
here's a taxpayer who is coming out of their hard-earned, you know, resources to assist you in having employment for your families. But you ain't showing up.
And you ain't providing them with the service they want you to provide.
You're not showing up. And then that I'm taking bread of your, but don't you think that this bread in your, don't you think that this bread in your mouth is valuable? Yeah.
But listen,
aren't you concerned about your own family?
We need to get off of carbs. That's what I tell her. Hey, we need to get off of carbs. But it's like the mortgage. It's like the mortgage.
Yes.
Boy.
You go into the bank, let's say Commonwealth Bank, and you get a mortgage with the express knowledge that you do not intend to pay a single dime on this mortgage.
Kendrick can laugh.
No, but that's you have to go with that intent. That I'm going to get the mortgage. I can sign the paper that say I owe you the money, but I'm not going to pay a dime. And then when they come to me 15 years later, because someone slip up and say, well, look here, you 15 years in arrears, we need to take this house. Then you're heartless.
Yes.
And the government needs to step in. This is the famous line. The government needs to step in. How is it that you can just come to my house and change the lock and don't give me any notice, notwithstanding that?
No notice, I was like a pay.
This is where we are. I blame nobody, but I invite our leaders, all across the various denominations and the various spectra of our society, to encourage our people to do better, only because when we do, everybody benefits.
Do you think you've got 3 years roughly left, I think, 3.5 years. The government has 3.5 years. I see signs of this kind of accountability. Do you think that the pill of taking that pill over the next 3.5 years will have a major impact or a significant impact on changing our attitude toward that? That when we get to that to that next time, that people will appreciate and understand, or they will just feel anger?
For every voice, contrary voice, oppositional voice in the marketplace who may cry, oh, heartless and uncaring, and this, don't forget that he was once a deacon in the Catholic Church, and so on. For every voice, there are 3 or 4 voices who say, Mr. Lloyd, just keep doing it. Do it, my friend. We have been slack and indifferent and cronyistic too long. Just keep going. Don't mind the noise in the market. The ones that you hear, of course, as they say, empty barrels make the most noise. So the ones that you obviously hear are the ones who are crying because, when you throw the rock in the chicken coop, it's them who get it. Yeah. Okay, but those who outside applauding you and encouraging you, they are usually the silent ones, but they will do it to you personally.
You bring up an interesting point, Mr. Lloyd Rogan Smith, that a leader, right, would actually support someone doing something that is not just right, and B, not in the interest of the progression of this country. How do you fix your mouth to say, that 20-year arrears, you need to forget about that?
Right.
And the thing is, you and I, if we go to the bank and we get a mortgage or a loan, if we 1 month in arrears or 2 months, I'm getting 90 days, and you get called, none of them stepping up for you or me about bread and all that. Boy, you see Ed Hill's going, How do you think that happened like that? 20 years. Mm-hmm. But you see, this is also, I campaigned once in a district I won't mention. And what I discovered was a very serious thing. I would go into these cul-de-sacs, and let's just say they had 13 or 14 houses in a cul-de-sac. Almost every person in that particular cul-de-sac worked at the same place in government. So from road to road, you had one road, they worked to Sandlands, another road worked to BTC, another road worked to this one, and then these were government homes. Uh-huh. So they had been given a home that they could not lose, and a job that they could not lose.
Be straight.
That is a very, very serious thing, Mr. Lloyd. And that is a
scary thing.
No, go ahead.
It has been allowed, perpetuated, endorsed in many instances for decades.
Oh yeah.
For decades.
Well, the
so who are you now to come and invite us to an ordered, disciplined society? Who do you think? Why are you so arrogant, Jeffrey Lloyd, that you can seek to impose, invite us to be disciplined, to be orderly, to be responsible, to be efficient? Where you come from?
All them people who wasn't waking before me, no one do nothing about them. Why are you picking on me?
Mm-hmm. Right, that's the mindset.
So anyway, listen. I say this to you. Go ahead. You want to say something? It is a job that requires bravery and courage, because this is the only way we're going to succeed. You will be able to, Mr. Lloyd, at the end of your term, win or lose, know that you did the right thing. You won't have any regrets. And everyone has regrets of decisions they make, things they may have said. But you would have known that you attempted to. Roganne Smith, if you were in Jeff Lloyd's seat, would you do anything differently in terms of if the people ain't showing up to work?
Absolutely not.
In fact, Jeff Lloyd, let me just say,
I'm a little harsher than he.
Yeah.
I think they'd have me removed.
You might be removed, Jeff Lloyd, if you don't do your thing. She'll come and remove you herself. Okay? All right? Roganne Smith wrote a very interesting column that I will share with you later on. I don't know if you saw it.
I didn't.
But these are sentiments I've harbored for many, many years. We've espoused it for many, many years on the air. I'm beginning to see something. I don't know if, I'm very critical of what my surroundings. And I'm beginning to see little niches of some change. And I'm just hoping that, and I say to people all the time, when I hear all the crying and the people talking about what isn't happening and what isn't happening, I focus on the little things, the little nudges that are happening, and hopefully that they will grow and grow and grow. Mm-hmm. The fact that I can pick areas, Roganne Smith, where I would see litter on the ground every day on the verges. Now, you still see some, but it's not as much. There's some care being given. Yep. So, Jeff Lloyd, you're always welcome on this show. I know we took off on another topic.
No,
but it needs to be talked about.
Of course.
And I'll tell you, I'm going to send you that article that Roganne Smith wrote.
I appreciate it.
It was, there just has to be people who say these things.
Precisely.
It's as simple as that.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Lloyd.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Thank you for the lovely birthday card, Ms. Smith.
You're welcome.
And the gift.
Happy belated on air.
I appreciate that. I like the gift. I will put that to good use. And Mr. Kendrick Williams, as always, a pleasure. And we shall see you on Thursday.
Okay.
Thanks.